Hello and welcome to a video on how to draw in single point perspective. Now, this video is aimed at people drawing on paper or digitally. I'm only doing this digitally for two reasons. Firstly, I want to use different layers and colors to make this easier to understand. Secondly, I don't want to waste time physically shuffling my rulers and pens around. I'll be using Sketchbook Pro, which is completely free and has a built-in perspective guide tool which will make this video quicker and easier to follow. We would use one-point perspective when looking directly at the face of an object. We would use two-point perspective when looking directly at the edge of an object, and we would use three-point perspective when looking directly at the point of an object. Another easy way of remembering it is that in one-point perspective, only one dimension tapers off towards the vanishing point on the horizon. In two-point perspective, two dimensions taper off towards the vanishing points on the horizon, and in three-point perspective, all three dimensions taper off towards the vanishing points. Let's start by drawing both these things, the horizon line and the vanishing point. At this point, you don't really need to stress about where you draw these. Just draw them roughly in the middle of your page, like this. We'll start by drawing a simple box. Because this is one-point perspective, we know that the front of the box will be a flat 2D rectangle. Now we can create depth by pulling the corners of our rectangle to the vanishing point, the VP. We want our box to end here. Simply pull a vertical line to the upper edge. Then draw a horizontal line from where they intersect. And that's it, our box is now complete. Now let's try drawing something a little more interesting, like a triangular prism. As before, we begin by drawing the 2D face of the prism. This time we have a problem. We decide that we want our prism's depth to end here. But how do we know where to draw the back edge? We have to somehow relate the bottom point to the top point. After all, once we have both of these points, we can simply join them to give us the edge we need. We know that the shape of our prism does not change throughout its depth. So any geometric relationships on the front plane must hold at the back as well. Let's draw a vertical and horizontal line to find the top point in relation to the bottom point. Pull the intersection point to the VP. Remember, the geometry at the back plane is identical to the front plane. So just like we did at the front, draw a vertical line until you hit the new edge we just pulled. Then a horizontal line until you hit the top edge of our prism. There you have it, we now know where the top point lies, which means we can draw our missing edge. I know that was a bit long-winded, but I wanted to highlight a very important lesson. Vertical and horizontal lines are your best friends in single-point perspective drawing. By using them as construction lines to relate individual points to one another, we can correctly draw edges which are at any angle. I'm going to wrap up this video by drawing a slightly more complex shape using what we've just learned. I encourage you to try and follow along for practice. As you can see, all I'm doing is using rectangular and triangular prisms, just like we learned a few moments ago. That's the nice thing about perspective drawings. Once you know how to draw the basic masses, it's really just a matter of combining them in various different ways, over and over to create detailed scenes. This is what's so useful about working digitally. You can use different layers to prevent yourself from getting confused once the workspace gets cluttered up with construction lines. And I'm just messing around with the watercolor brush on Sketchbook, and just having a bit of fun. That ends the first part of this two-part series of how to draw in one-point perspective. In the next video, we'll look at more intermediate techniques such as drawing circles and equally spaced objects. If you'd like to see more of these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.